and thank you very much for being here in this evening on this very important day, month of June. Month of June is very special day for Sri Lankan Buddhists. Full moon day of month of June, Buddhism arrived to Sri Lanka more than 2,300 years ago. So I warmly welcome all the Sangha members and all the participants here today with our Dhamma and Dharma program. Today, in Dhamma side, Dhamma talk will be given by the most venerable Yoga Avachara Rahula Mahathera, and Dharma talk will be given by Venerable Geshe Lobsang Dharge, and Venerable Suan will be conducting us on Vandana, and Venerable Lobsang Tendrol will guide us in meditation, and Venerable Kamalasiri will be here soon to conduct the program. And thank you everyone for, and very warmly I welcome you all for coming to today's program. So, Venerable Suan, please guide us in Vandana.
Yes, let's pay our homage to the Triple J, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha together. Let's keep our arms together and chant in Pali and Sanskrit for Buddha Vandana. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Arahang samma sambuddho bhagava buddhang bhagavantang abhivandami. The Buddha is the blessed one, the worthy one, the supremely enlightened one. I pay homage to the Buddha. Swakhato bhagavata dhammo dhammang nama. Will praise the teaching of the Buddha. I pay homage to the Dhamma. Supatipanno bhagavatu savaka sangho sangang namami. Well behaved, the noble disciple of the Buddha. I pay homage to the Sangha. Vandana in Sanskrit. Buddham cha dharmam cha ganottamam cha yavadibodhim saranang gatosmin dhanadi punyai saketai mahebi buddho bhaveyam jagato hitaya. I go for refuge until the enlightenment to the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. By the merits of the dharmic activities, may I achieve the Buddhahood for the sake of all living beings. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Venerable Lobsang Tendrol will conduct meditation.
So we'll do a short meditation on impermanence. And so we just begin by feeling very safe. So as always, before we start the meditation, you just take a minute to create in your own mind a feeling of great safety. Feel that you're very protected and nothing can harm you. And in that protected space, you can completely let go. You don't have to protect yourself. You don't have to put up any barriers. You're just safe. And then from that sense of security, you can bring your mind inward, you can start exploring in an unguarded fashion. So we can begin by just relaxing into the rhythm of the breath, completely focusing on the rhythm of the breath. You don't have to look over your shoulder, worry about any interferences. You just relax into that rhythm. You're not forcing the rhythm of the breath in any way. Completely letting go, giving in to the natural rhythm of the breath. As the breath travels throughout your body, again, very naturally, spontaneously, just allow any tension in your muscles, your joints, allowing all of that to just ease off, allow it to vanish. Softening, softening. As part of doing this, following the breath, you sort of notice the difference in the quality of the breath. So without trying to analyze the breath too tightly, You just sort of notice that some breaths are longer, some breaths are shorter. And in Tibetan, the word for impermanence, the word for referring to the self, one of the words is jikta, which is sometimes translated as the view of the perishing aggregates or the transitory collection. And so there's a sense that ourselves, the person, the self of a person, is always in the state of arising and falling. It's momentary change, so from minute to minute, second to second. There's karma ripening, karma being accumulated. Nothing is ever fixed or stationary, so to speak. So whether it's an aspect of the physical or an aspect of the mental, everything is subject to momentary change. So as when you're sitting in meditation, as thoughts arise, and you can think of these just as mental processes. Again, just as temporary movements of the mind that are associated with the movement of the breath. Likewise, as sounds arise in the room, or you see different things, appearances arise, and again, just incorporated into the meditation on impermanence. And then gradually bring your thoughts together. Bring your attention back to your environment. And then we'll end this meditation session.
Thank you, Venerable Lobsang Tendril. From now on, Venerable Kamal Siri will be guiding the share. with the program.
Thank you, Dhamma Loka. Today, our topic is benefits of practicing meditation on impermanence. Here, impermanent means there is a Pali word anicca, and Sanskrit word is anitya. Practicing of meditation, we can say it is anicca bhavana or anitya bhavana. This is the how we say it is in Pali and Sanskrit language. So today we are going to talk about the benefits. Then sorry, I couldn't ask that question before. Which language first we start, the Pali tradition or Sanskrit tradition?
As usual, let's start with Pali.
Oh, thank you. Then Bante Yogavachara Rahul, I would like to invite to you to do your presentation about Anicca Bhavana.
No, thank you, Bante, and all the other venerables participating in this program. And thank you for inviting me to share some Dhamma with you on this very important topic. I'm just going to start by chanting a Pali verse, which is the essence really of the Buddhist teaching. Sambe sankhara anicchati yada panyaya pasati atane bindati dukkhe esamango visuddhiya. The meaning of that is that all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to purity and mental freedom or nibbana. So this is one of the impermanence is one of the lakkhana, or the three characteristics, which form really the bedrock of the Buddha's teaching on wisdom. And there are three levels of wisdom before I get into the actual topic of the benefits of meditating on impermanence, although that was mentioned in the verse I just said, that it's freedom, liberating the mind from dukkha and attaining ultimate freedom, becoming disenchanted from suffering. Now that's a benefit. Now, a lot of people don't see that as a benefit, but from the Buddhist point of view, that's a benefit. One becomes disenchanted with suffering, and that disenchantment leads to freedom from all the five aggregates, freedom from even the self in the ego. So on sort of, let's say, the deepest level, that is the benefits of meditating on impermanence. But there are three levels of wisdom. There's the intellectual wisdom, and then there's the reflective wisdom. When you start thinking about wisdom and in suffering, you start thinking about the Dhamma, then you're understanding about that impermanence becomes deeper. And then that combination of both the intellectual understanding, reflective understanding, then when all the spiritual faculties are developed, the factors of enlightenment, then that bhavanamaya panya, which is basically the experience of magga and phala, which then liberates the mind from the fetters and suffering and samsara. So we all know impermanence in the Buddhist teaching refers to the panchaskandha, or the 5 aggregates, because everything, all the things that are impermanent belong to either rupa, vedana, sanya, sankara, and vijnana. So those are the things that are impermanent, because that makes up the whole world of body and mind. And but in the beginning, for the average person who starts to meditate or study the Buddhist teaching, because basically anicca, dukkha, and anatta, these are the 3 characteristics of the 5 aggregates of all conditioned things. But the average person with ignorance, now everybody has ignorance until they've reached certain levels of enlightenment. So they have avidya, they have ignorance. And ignorance sees everything as permanent, pleasurable, and self, or permanent, nitya, sukha, and atta. These are the opposites of anicca, dukkha, and anatta. But the person with ignorance sees everything as nitya, sukha, and atta. And that is the cause of suffering, every kind of suffering. It's the identification and clinging to these aggregates. And when I say the word aggregates, I mean anything in the world of mind and matter belongs to one of those aggregates. Our physical body, of course, and the earth, the planets, everything basically of a material nature. And of course, our feelings, pleasurable feelings, painful feelings, neutral feelings, our perceptions, the way our mind identifies objects and creates these images in our mind. Like you hear a sound and the mind creates, your eyes are closed, but you hear a sound and a picture of a bird chirping pops into your mind, or the picture of your mother or father or anything else. That's a perception. And then we react to those perceptions. Those are the sankharas, the way we react to the perceptions with attachment, aversion, greed, hatred. And then along with it is our consciousness, thinking that I am doing these things. These are happening to me, the I consciousness. So all of those things are constantly changing, but the average person doesn't see them that way. So, and that's the cause of all suffering, because we take them permanent and we see them as objects to be desired, and we cling to our sense of self. That's why we create the karma, right? It's the karma that causes us suffering, breaking the precepts, cheating, lying, killing, stealing, every kind of negative action. And then those actions come back to cause us suffering. And people's minds are trapped in that cycle of karmic production. Now, the second noble truth also states that, craving is the source of suffering, and that we crave because we believe things are permanent. We believe things that bring us pleasure. That's why people get attached to them, because they haven't contemplated. They haven't, because especially in these Western capitalist societies, everything is based on, promoting the delusion of permanence and pleasurable, and you can't live without these things. You need more and more and more. and this ego gratification, of course. So, the Dhamma is kind of going against that. So anyway, the benefits of contemplating the impermanence, or at least to initially start thinking about it, and thinking about, sure, we get something pleasurable, but it only lasts a short time. And then we have to want something else. And the mind is always seeking pleasure. And so because things are impermanent, we might get something for a few minutes or seconds or minutes, hours, days, but because it's impermanent, it will change. Either somebody will steal it, it'll get burnt, it'll get blown away in the wind, or it'll just disintegrate by itself, including our own body. And then because we don't want it to go, then the mind suffers. So that's really the key understanding. Now we can understand that intellectually, that's one level, but then we have to go on thinking about it in our daily life to apply right thought. And so as you start thinking about these things and seeing how the aggregates are changing, your body and mind phenomena are constantly changing, as we were observing in our meditation just recently, then that understanding gets deeper. And then eventually, then when you've developed enough mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, and you've matured the spiritual faculties, then at a certain point you will have these deep, powerful insights when the conditioned mind gets suspended. And basically, the five aggregates are no longer producing illusions. And one has that experience of, you could call it emptiness, you could call it nibbana, and so on. So, but one of the main criterion, the reason why people can't understand impermanence is because, they don't really see it. Impermanence of the material world is one thing. I mean, there's three levels, basically, of gaining freedom. And about impermanence. Okay, the physical world is impermanent. And then there's the mental world, our mind is impermanent. Feelings, perceptions, volitions. And then our consciousness itself is impermanent and always changing. And these are what we take to be our self. And these are basically nama, rupa, and vijnana, as we see in the Paticca Samuppada, nama, rupa, and vijnana. These are the things that belong to the five aggregates. And so this is really the subject of meditation from the Theravada, at least specifically from the Theravada standpoint, and the practice of the mindfulness and vipassana meditation. So the Buddha's teaching on the four foundations of mindfulness is really this teaching in beginning to understand the aggregates and their impermanence, and also the dukkha and anatta. That anatta is really the deepest realization. That means the realization that even our sense of self is impermanent. That means we've created it, and it can also dissolve. And we've created it since the time that we were a baby. When a baby comes out of the womb, it doesn't have a fully developed ego consciousness yet, but after 6 months, a year, it starts to learn language. And then it starts to see things, everything it experiences, it's either bringing it some kind of pleasurable feeling or some kind of a painful feeling. And then, then it starts to desire the pleasurable feelings, want them more and more, and it starts to not want the painful feelings more and more. It gets caught within the past or future, and it loses that connection to the present moment. And then the parents give the baby a name. They start calling it Johnny or Susie, and after 5 or 10 times, the baby starts looking. When they call the name, it starts looking, and it starts identifying this body as, somebody. So what used to be oceanic, very expanded and oceanic awareness of a newborn baby, gradually this nucleus of a little ego and I starts to kind of form or coalesce, condense behind the eyes, so to speak. And then now it's a little me, it's a little self. And that self lives for pleasurable feeling and painful feeling. And so it's caught in the past or the future. This is the evolution of ego consciousness and the evolution of really the conditioned consciousness. So, the average person knows nothing about that, but this is what the Buddha taught. And so it's basically the past and the future. Basically the ego lives for the past and the future. It's made up of nothing but the past or the future, because it identifies, I had these things in the past, I want these things in the future. So our mind is caught in going back and forth between the past and the future. That's why when you develop meditation, you tune into the present moment. And, all problems, all suffering are problems of the past and the future. Try to think of any problem that you have and see if it's not connected in one way or another with the past or the future. Think hard. Probably can't think of anything because you can't. So when the mind is resting in the present moment, there's nothing to judge, there's nothing to compare, there's nothing to want, there's nothing to dislike. And so that's freedom. The present moment, the mind resting in the present moment is that freedom. That's really the vibration of freedom. It's when the mind is no longer creating thoughts of past or future for any of the form, feeling, perception, volition, or even the sense of self. Now, to do that is not easy. And so that's why, all the various meditation techniques that we know about within Buddhism and so on are designed at, gradually softening up the sense of I and the clinging and attachment to things. And so, the benefits of contemplating impermanence, again, is, when you know that everything is changing, is going to cause you suffering, hopefully some of your grosser desires won't be so strong. So some of your strong craving and grasping may, gradually weaken, because things that change. When you get disenchanted, how your mind is creating that suffering around the object. And so gradually you become freedom from certain things. As you go on meditating, then, as you stop grasping and craving things in the material world, then you become free from the suffering you create by your karma, like breaking precepts, for example. Almost 90% of our suffering comes from the past, having broken any of the 5 major precepts. If you just think about it in the world, all the ills of the world are from people not following the 5 precepts. And so that's why the Buddha included the sila as one of the foundations, for meditation practice, because you get freedom from the fear. People suffer mentally, right? From guilt, worry, remorse, and fear. That's where most of people's suffering comes from. Not from getting stabbed with a knife or shot with a bullet, but, fear, worry, anxiety, guilt that comes from having broken precepts is the worst of the mental. And so that's why meditating on impermanence and practicing sila. You just can't meditate on impermanence without practicing sila and all the other steps of the Eightfold Path. Because you have to understand, the nature of karma and how it's been created. So, but now coming back to the meditation. So after one practices the Dhamma, the Eightfold Path, sufficiently and, starts to purify their karmic actions. But to do that, you have to meditate, you have to develop mindfulness. Because it's because of unmindfulness that we break the precepts, right? We're not aware of our intentions about what we're going to do. So anyway, in the actual meditation on impermanence or anicca sanya, and this is another verse of the Buddha. He said, it's in the Dhammapada, those who meditate, the meditation on impermanence gradually wears out the I am conceit, the ego. That's a very profound statement. That contemplating impermanence, erodes the basis of what the ego stands on. Because the ego stands on nothing but desire and aversion of the past and the future for all the various objects, including even your own mental objects. So, but this is really the crux of vipassana. So you all heard about vipassana meditation. So in vipassana meditation, the anicca sanya, of course, first you have to develop some concentration to effectively practice the vipassana. But you train your mind to be able to notice how quickly different things come and go. So it starts with the breathing. You see how the in-breath starts, lasts a few moments, stops. You see how the out-breath starts, lasts a few moments, stops. And so you tune your mind into just beginning and ending, starting and stopping. And then while you're doing that, you might hear a sound. Oh, it just arose and vanished. And then a few seconds later, you might notice a little scratch on your face. And in between, there's the in-breath arising and vanishing, out-breath arising and vanishing. Maybe a thought comes in your mind, an urge to move comes and goes, but you keep on contemplating and that vanishes. And so gradually you tune into this flow of anicca. It's called the flow of anicca. Basically are the mind moments of hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, touching, and thinking. The six senses that are the contacts are arising and vanishing very quickly. Now, most people don't see that because their mind is clinging on to any particular contact. They cling to it with, oh, I want that, I don't want that. It sends their mind into thoughts. So that's why first you have to develop a level of samadhi, so the mind is non-reacting so much. And you can really then focus in on the flow of anicca. And you start to notice many, many things arising and vanishing within just a few seconds even. When the mind is clear, because it's like looking down through a microscope and turning up the power of a microscope to about 500 or 1,000. And you see, you can actually see the cellular and molecular, even atomic vibrations that are arising and vanishing. Now that's of course a very deep level. Most people may not get to that point, but just the fact that being able to notice how quickly things are rising and vanishing, and this is one of the insight knowledges. So for those who are familiar with the insight knowledges, and that's the sixth or seventh stage of purification, knowledge and vision of the way, or the 8 insight knowledges. And the first one is knowledge of anicca, rise and fall. And you train the mind to notice the rising and vanishing so quickly that the mind doesn't have time to bring in the past or the future for anyone, because something else already came and went. And the mind is able to just follow that flow of anicca, without getting distracted. And so we can no longer think about the world, because the world is created by thinking about objects. You hear a sound, you start thinking, oh, that little bird. You hear a person's voice, oh, that's my friend. or that's my enemy. Or you feel a pain in the body, oh, my knee, you start worrying. So everything, the world is created by our thoughts. And that's because you're clinging to the sensory objects, because your mind is dull. The mind is very slow. So anicca sanya is about speeding up the rate of perception so the mind doesn't have time to cling to one particular object because there's always something else to note. And so the mind doesn't have time to bring in the past or future with it. And so the objects seem to disappear because objects only stay in our mind if we're paying attention to them. So this is the key for developing anicca sanya. And because the ego is based upon these objects that we're paying attention to, when you're no longer paying attention to them, the sense of self starts to vanish, starts to fade away because it has nothing to stand on. It has no past or future to stand on. And so you can experience anatta through that development of the anicca. And that's the meaning of that verse about the practice of an impermanence leads to the eroding away of the I conceit. That's really the essence of vipassana meditation, the very essence of it. And when you really see that, how the mind is, this world is basically just created in our mind, basically. There is this earth, we don't deny it, but each person experiences the world in their mind. Still, it's in your mind. And once you understand that, you realize, oh my God, I've been ignorant my whole life. I mean, what am I doing? Clinging to all that. So that is when you can really start letting go. And then the letting go is the happiness. When the mind is resting, not caught up in the past or future, that's ultimate happiness. And so that is the benefit. I mean, there's many benefits, but that's the ultimate benefit. But even when you're starting to, the beginning benefits are just loosening your attachment and clinging to things that cause you a grosser suffering. And then you start letting go of your memories and your resentment and your ill will by practicing metta, by practicing other forms of meditation. You gradually start letting go of the mental baggage, and that's a freedom too. That's a freedom. So that's how the benefits arise, and also your health will improve too, because so many of our physical ailments and sicknesses are due to psychosomatic problems, our mind, and so it's that is really the way that we see that practice. Those who practice, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, developing the 7 factors of enlightenment. It starts with mindfulness and investigation of Dhamma and energy and joy, and then it finally leads to that developing concentration and equanimity, and then experiencing Maggaphala. This is the system of meditation within the Theravada tradition, to experience that ultimate happiness of being freed from being caught in that web of past future thinking, and thinking that all these material stimulations is somehow going to bring you happiness. You understand that happiness is really when the mind is resting in the present moment. There's nothing to compare with it. When the ego is dissolved. That's the point. When present moment is synonymous with the non-ego. The past and the future is synonymous with self and ego. And it's just a matter of how to get the mind to come back to that state. So I think that's the main what I wanted to explain in this Dhamma talk about the benefits from the Theravada standpoint, and the practice from the Theravada tradition of developing this anicca sanya. Because we can talk about it a lot, but until you actually start to experience that in the mind, in meditation. Only when you develop mindfulness and concentration to a higher level, only then will it really start, sinking in at a deep level. And for that, it usually needs long retreats to go on to develop these kind of mental powers of mindfulness, concentration, and stuff. Okay, so I think that could be enough for this explanation.
Thank you, Bhante, your explanation. And now it is time to Geshe Dharge to talk about the anitya or impermanent.
Tangi to the Nisone Dava Tamje Bombechi Tambechi Netenze, Kodam de la Chatselo. Thank you, Bande. So, so most of the things which Venerable Yogavachara Rahula share, it's the same, basically the same. Therefore, I'm not going to repeat those as same as like 4 misapprehensions and the what are impermanence are, right? So these are I'm not going to share. So the impermanent itself, the one thing is that before I spoke the benefit of impermanent, what is impermanent, just a little bit additional that I like to talk. Whatever phenomena which produced by cause and condition, those are impermanent. So those are impermanent, and then most of things which connected with our daily life are impermanent, because those are which is produced by cause and condition. Again, anything we call compositional factor. The compositional factor composed by cause and condition, any phenomena are impermanent. But impermanent has a few different levels, but many of us are thinking that impermanence is like any phenomena first produce it, then remaining it, then getting more old, then after ending. That's kind of 4 level that for activities, that 4 things happening with all this impermanence as we see it, such as like 4 seasons of weather. All this like first produce it, the flowers comes, then fall, then again comes, again falls. That's kind of gross level from impermanent. And also like a house are collapse, and the cars are damaging, and then persons are dying, and the flames, bottle lamps are extinguishing. Those are very gross level of impermanent, which we can see, which we can understand. But the even its gross levels impermanent, which we're seeing is first produced it and then remaining as long. In reality, if we may do look at the more deep way of impermanence, they cannot remain it any moment. There are no moment that things are remaining it. There are no moment things are like a staff, they're staying it, right? So that's part which is difficult to see it. This is like we call subtle level of impermanence. Giving example, like it's a whole year's 360 days is kind of like a degenerating, it's distinguishing. It's depend on month distinguish. It's a month degenerative month. if the man is not distinguished, I mean, like a man is not a degenerate, then the heirs cannot change it. So heir change it because of the man change it. Man change it because the weeks changes. Weeks change it because the day changes. Without day changing, weeks cannot change it. The day changes because of hour changes. So hour changes because of minute changes. Again, without minute changes, hour cannot change it. Then year cannot change it. So the minute changes because the second changing. Second also change it is like a subtle level of period changes. If we look at that way, we will not see any phenomena that which produced by cause and conditions are there something that's remaining. Therefore, whatever appeared to us is remaining is it's illusions. It's not actual remaining. It's a momently change. Without moment change, as I said, cannot change anything. Same as like a period, right? This is like a subtle level of impermanent. The Mahayana most of talks about the subtle level of impermanent. Of course, the gross level of impermanent accepted, but additional, they talk subtle level of impermanent. Therefore, there are no moment to remaining. Every moment is changing. That's the same. Okay, this is the part of what is impermanent. And the benefit of impermanence, again, what whenever Rahula shares, I'm not going to repeat this, exactly same. And then additionally, first, let's say, what is fault for not understanding impermanent? What is fault of not meditating on impermanence? We just a little bit reflect on it. It will help us to what benefit we have it. So therefore, first we look at that, what fault faults that not thinking on impermanence and not understanding impermanence. So far we say, if you do not understand impermanence, you're not thinking on impermanence, then you never feel that I have to practice the Dharma. Because you see, I can remaining tomorrow, right? That's kind of things will not allow you to think the practice of Dharma. This is the one fault. Even you think, yes, I have to practice Dharma, but you are not engaging them. This is another fault. Even you engage the Dharma, you will not sincerely engage Dharma. It's like broken. Sometimes there, sometimes not there, and halfway do it, another way not do it. So not the completed there, it's a broken. So therefore, even you engaging Dharma, you will not engage like a completely or sincerely. And then plus, you are not emphasize it for bringing Dharma. Like a few days you practice, then few days not do practice. If you do a month practice, then after that you forget practice. You will not emphasize it. And then at the last part, when you passing away, when the time's to ending our life, then we will have a huge regret. We will die with the regret. Those are the faults of not thinking impermanence. Now let's talk about the benefit. So the benefit makes your life meaningful, thinking or understanding impermanence, and it makes you powerful. And then also the benefit at the beginning will and the beginning is important at the beginning of any activities, and then also in the middle, and also understanding impermanent is completed your own all the activities or special Dharma activities at the end. And then in the end of life, you will be journey with peacefully. So little bit elaborated that beginning and middle and ending, how benefited there, right? At the beginning, it will cause you to enter the Dhamma. If you think impermanent, especially like a death impermanent, then you will see that whatever you're taking activities, you not see the very valuable for future life. Only this life. When you think the impermanent, especially think the death impermanent, then you will see, or more contemplating, you will see only the Dharma can benefit us to this life and future life, not all these other activities in this life. So therefore, let you enter, it cause you to have entered the Dharma at the beginning. And the middle, it will act as an impetus to engage in virtuous actions. It will let you engage the virtuous actions. And finally, also it will act as complement to realizing perfect ultimate nature of reality. This is the one part of benefiting beginning and middle and ends. Another also continues this benefit to middle, beginning and middle and end is, if you think impermanent, the first, it will cause for enabling to you to let go attachment to this life. It will help you to let go attachment to this life if you think the impermanent, right? And in the middle, it will condition for avoiding clinging to all aspects of circle existence, samsara. It will condition for avoiding for samsaric existence, circle existence. At the final, it will help us or support us complementary factor for entering the path of nirvana. This is another part of having benefit beginning and middle and end. And more here, additionally, what we say, if we think the more impermanence, it will help us. The beginning part, it's the cause for cultivating faith. It will act as a cause for cultivating faith at the beginning. In the middle, it will inspire joyful perseverance. And also finally, at the end, it will cause wisdom to arise. And then again, additionally, when you think the impermanent at the first will act as cause for cultivate having enthusiastic to Dharma practice, right? And then in the middle, it will support for practice Dharma. And the final, it will support for complete to Dharma practice. The last, the benefit of beginning and middle and end is here. The first, it will act as a cause for inspiring, almost like a joyous effort. You will have a joyful effort for practicing Dharma. And in the middle, it will act as a condition to inspire the joyous effort of actual applications. Right, you will have a joyful effort for actual applications. At the final, it will act as a complementary factor to inspire joyful perseverance, irascible joyful perseverance, that we can say it. Yeah, those are the actual benefit of impermanent. At the end, we can say, if we looking happier and peaceful life, thinking impermanent is brings you all those benefit. And otherwise, you will clinging, or you will always have a misapprehending or wrong thought of permanent, as well as you have a wrong thought of permanence. My relation is permanent, my life is permanent, and my neighbors are permanent, or my all these relatives are permanent, my wealth is permanent. As long as you think that all the permanent, your life, all the pain will protecting those things with a nothing, with a meaningless. So therefore, thinking impermanent, the wealth is impermanent, my life is impermanent, as well as like relatives are impermanent, and then whole worlds are impermanent. If you think it, then it will let you go your attachment and anger and jealousy. That way you will find more peaceful and happier life. So therefore, this is the bottom line, we can say that. And we say one sutra called it is in translated in Tibetan. Actually, it's called Anitya Sutra, right? Anityata Sutra. At the end of sutra, it says, good health is impermanent. Youth does not last. Prosperity is impermanent. And life too does not last. Then how can being reflected as they are be impermanence? Take delight in disparate things like this. So therefore, as part of reflection or part of meditation on impermanence, little bit think these 4 or 5 different objects, which is impermanent, which is always functioning in our daily life. Most of active functioning in our daily life, which is good health. So yeah, if we think good health is permanent, then when you have sickness, illness, you will have a big surprise, because you think the good health is permanent. Once you have a surprise having those illness, that's you feel so painful. At the way beginning, think good health is impermanent, or think that our natural body and minds are conditioned of having illness. Then once you have illness, you can accept it. And after you accept it, just accepting it will help you a lot to make lighter painful, or just nothing stress and depression and anxiety, because of just accepting what is natural about body and mind's condition. Because of some civic body and mind, the nature is like as we say, nature is suffering, nature is illness. It's conditioned. So therefore, think the good health is impermanent, then you can accept when you have a suffering illness. And then once you accept it, you can feel very light, and it's also will calm mind, and then calm mind help you to cure the illness the faster with medicine. So therefore, this is good to think that the health is impermanent. Actually, in this sutra said, once we have a good health, all these our five sense consciousness are having pleasure, and then we think we wish and thinking of the permanently habit. That's the reason when we have a suffering and then having huge painful and depression. So therefore, think good health is impermanent, because our natural body and mind is having illness. And you, as well as impermanent, think youth is impermanent, attractive, beauty, handsome, youth, those are impermanent. Once we think at the way beginning youth is impermanent, we will not too much spend time for make more attractive. And then we're not always expected that be remaining as attractive. And then it will help you when it's getting more aging, once you change our physical body, when it's become a more senior, everything is changing. At that time, we will never have a suffering, because way beginning, we accepted youth is impermanent, it's going to change. At the way beginning, we accepted what is nature of samsara is having aging, senior and aging. Once we have aging and senior, everything's changing. All this attractive is gone. So as well as we accepted the way beginning, knowing as youth is impermanent will a lot of help. So therefore, think youth is impermanent, because the nature of samsara is always getting more old and aging, right? And then same, the life or your prosperity, your wealth are impermanent. If you think your wealth are impermanent, if you have a beauty car, very brand new, like a cost, like a what called very expensive. Sorry, I don't remember the expensive English. So okay, it's a brand new and a very expensive car. You have it at the very beginning. If you think it's impermanent, then small crash to car will not cause you anger, not cause you have any suffering, because you think it impermanent. It's going to change anyhow. Of course, we need to protect it. So, but it will help us to see, not not have anger and suffering. And another, it's possible that the rich people at a few hours, they can become very poor. They can lose everything. And the practitioner who knows the impermanence, at the very beginning, that things impermanent, when they lost everything, they will remaining more calm, because they knows it happening with me. They knows nature of samsara. They knows everything's depend on cause and condition. And thus cause and condition makes me lose everything. Why I should worry? Why should I have angry? I should accept it because of this impermanent. So that kind of thing help if your way thinking, way beginning, or every day, everything, your perspectives are impermanent, right? And then as well as your life, yourself, myself life, my relatives' life, whoever connected with us, if we think it's impermanent, and when you lost it, you will not have a soul depression and anxiety and like a stressful, heavy sadness. You will not have this, because you know it happening with everyone. Just not knowing it, you accept it. You can accept it if you think it. Just knowing will not help. Still brings you heavy sadness. Still makes you more depression when you lost someone. But thinking, understanding impermanent, and then you thinking impermanent, meditating on impermanent will help you not have that kind of suffering when you lost someone. Of course, naturally comes sadness, but that not long lasting. It can change it, because you knows it is happening with everyone's. No one can change it, right? This is a one of the nature. So that you can help you to easily accept it, because it's impermanent. This is how to bring more peaceful and happier life, right? So this kind of things, and then more we have that those impermanent relationship and friends and enemy. We are not too much clinging on our friends. It could be changed to enemy. We not too much have like a hatred to enemy, because it can be changed to the friends. So therefore, thinking impermanence will makes you more calm and makes like an equanimity mind to see everyone as equal, because not too much clinging here and there, which you really want to like it, not too much like hatred in the other side, because you know it's going to change. Why I should have so exciting? Why I should have so hatred on it? Because it's going to change. So these are the part of that we want to think. So I'll take 5 minutes for reflecting few gross level of impermanence, and then you can take this as an example and think more and more by yourself. Take your meditation posture as you know. And one time, take long and deep breath. It makes you calm and allows you to think. Now try to think here. These gathering, here we are gathering today, and the gatherings with the dearest ones and all relatives. It's like a mound formed of leaves falling from tree, or that huge leaf, the heap of leaf which is falling from the tree. It's like that. So you can think that all this relative, all this gathering every day, today, tomorrow, day after, whatever, we are having huge gatherings, special your families. It's like the heaps of the many leaves put together, the heaps of many leaves. And when strong wind comes, it will scatters them through all, throughout. It will be the scatters by the strong wind. It will be separated by the impermanent of wind. And once they disappear, they will never converge again. When we separate, we never same form and same, not meet with same way and same form. Just think that all these gatherings in this world, especially my families, are like a heap of leaves. One day, strong wind will be scatter those and will disappear everywhere. Similar as all this gathering in our daily life, relatives and so on are, will separate one day because of impermanence. When separate, not converge again as same way. And continues think, people from different places crowded in market, the huge crowded in market, are like the bees gathering at the end of autumns, dispersing no sooner than they have come together. And continues things. Take the outer world of the elements as an example. Do not be deceived by a level of summer and winter. It too does not last. And with each 10 days that pass, the mountains and rivers, valley change their colors. as all these elements are changing their way. Similarly, our life, myself, my relatives, everything's going to change. My beauty is going to change. My health is going to change. My wealth is going to change. Everything's going to change. And final thing, as everything's changing, there are no essence. Everything in this life without Dharma practice. Only the Dharma practice can makes your life meaningful. Only the Dharma practice is the essence of life, because it continues, brings you happy and peaceful, long-lasting, forever. None other things. Therefore, encourage to yourself, from now, I should study more Dharma. I should more practice Dharma, which is cause of happiness, exactly cause of happiness. Because all the appearance are deceiving me. All the appearance are not the reality. Appearance as a permanent, but reality is impermanent. So therefore, I should know more reality. Therefore, I should more practice Dharma and study Dharma. Okay, thank you so much. Sorry for taking a long time.
Thank you so much taking your time. It was good understanding and experience. Now, it is good time to discussion. It is better the other listeners, if you have any questions related to the topic, then you can ask now.
Sorry,
Or if anyone...
I sent a few words in our chat, but it has both Tibetan and English. But the part of English might help you to think. It is one of our great master, Dhamma master, wrote this, The Thinking Life Impermanence. Yeah.
Which master? What is the name of the master?
It's Atisha.
Atisha.
Yeah, Atisha.
Deepankara Atisha.
Deepankara Atisha, yeah.
Please unmute your phones and ask if you have any question.
Actually, I have a kind of a question, but for Geshe.
Please go ahead.
So, most of us have probably seen these mandalas that Tibetan monks create in various places. They go around the world and they spend a lot of money and effort and time creating these very elaborate mandalas, over a week or even longer. But the purpose of it is to destroy it at the end. So, that's also a meditation on impermanence. Even while they're making it, you're sitting for 8 hours a day in a difficult posture, pouring this little sand in these intricate things, knowing that they're gonna throw it out in a week. So that's, that's, I guess, one of the meditations. They use that as a meditation, right? Not to have attachment to it. It's so beautiful, such a beautiful work of art. But within a couple of hours or the next day of creating it, they take it out and dump it, I don't know, in the water or someplace. And to symbolize the impermanence and not to be attached to even the beauty.
It is.
I found that a very nice way of, practicing impermanence from the Tibetan tradition.
We build mandala, and people who comes to see that, they have a strong attachment because it's colorful and beautiful, and it takes a long time. But monks who created it, there are no problem to destroying it, even no emotion, there are no emotional attachment. But who have a strong attachment, they're crying it. They're very emotionally, having strong emotional because attachment. The monks do not have those because the way beginning monk accepted, I have to destroy it. Anyhow, right? So therefore, monks do not have any emotion when they destroy it. Even they worked really hard for 5 days, 4 days, 8 hours in a day. And then I know the experience, the back pain, and then eyes is like running like tears and strong, like itching, so on and so on. There are a lot of hard work there, but they don't have a problem for destroy it. It is just teaching us impermanent or let it go, beautiful things. Yeah.
I think when last evening when we were lighting the Vesak lanterns, also we were talking similar thing. When we light it, at any moment it would be burnt out. Nicely decorated lanterns, and so they would know that with the light or by the rain, it would be, destroyed anyways. In the same, I think a similar kind of way of thinking is there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is a lot of help when we think that, right? Yeah, that's true. Then again, I'm sending that words which I lead you meditation, but because my pronunciation is so bad, you might be not understand exactly what I lead the meditation. So I'm going to send in here the lines are, and then you can think again. Yeah. So any other question for Bande Rahula, and also which I talked it?
Until asking any other question from any listener, I have a question. It is better, Ramaji, if you can explain a little bit about what is the connection with the impermanent, anitya, and the sunyata.
Connection between sunyata and impermanent. The impermanent will show you the dependent origination. There are no essence. There are nothing that is remaining it. There are nothing that is long lasting it. So it will help you to understand that shunyata, the Mahayana perspective shunyata is just merely label or lack of inherent existence, lack of independent existence. So impermanent help you to dependent origination, understand dependent origination, then it will help you to understand lack of independently exist. So that's how we connect it. But sometimes people think impermanent itself is shunyata because they're two sees very similar. Actually, it's huge difference between shunyata and impermanence. So impermanence help us to reduce and eliminate a lot of cause of suffering. But we said, the Mahayana is saying that it cannot eliminate root cause of suffering, which is self-grasping, that we said it. So if you want to eliminate self-grasping, which is root of suffering, then you must see the impermanent. Shunyata, emptiness, that we said it, yeah. Okay.
Whenever in practical way, sometimes people, when they have some ill health, they would be worried so much. So can we apply the impermanence to see even that ill health is impermanent? So by thinking in that way, they can reduce their worries and anxieties for being with ill health, right? Is it so?
Yeah, after Pandiraula, I'll just let Pandiraula talk first.
Well, because you can think, yeah, we get ill, but you have health and then you get ill, then you get healthy again, then you get ill and then you get healthy again. So, that shows you that these things are impermanent. Health is impermanent, sickness is impermanent. And you can extrapolate that to everything else that just comes and goes in the life, and you can't control it. You can't say, let me not get sick. I mean, you can do some things maybe to prevent some kinds of things, minimize sickness, but you can't prevent it the same way with old age. So that's why, contemplating the sickness and is, helps you to accept that more. Even though it's painful, and even the painful sensations, even without one sickness, it's fluctuating too. Not just one sickness, it's always fluctuating. Sometimes it's worse, sometimes it's less, and then you can expect, then you appreciate your health more, actually. Once you got sick, and then once you get healthy, you're good, you can compare those two and maybe practice in a way that minimize. Maybe you're eating bad food, junk food, or taking some other bad things for you. And you said that's causing you, helping to get the sickness also. So you develop that energy to not consume things that are bad for you, or go to places that may cause you unnecessary pain.
Yeah, additionally, exactly same that I said, like additional, as we say, the conditioned bodies, the nature is suffering, nature is illness. So be always ready for having illness. So that's also help, even like you not think impermanent, thinking nature of our condition, the body condition and mind condition, nature of this environment condition. It's also help to not have depression and not so surprised. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, okay, then people, if do not have a question, maybe it's a 9. What do you think, Pande Kamlashiri? We're going to conclude with the dedication, or what do you think?
It's 9 o'clock, I think time is. Yeah.
So I think it would be time to do dedication of merits and end the program, right? Yeah.
Who will do it?
I think Venerable Geshe or Venerable Rahul would do the sharing merits.
Oh, okay.
I invite Yeshi to share the merits.
Okay, then let me see my English translation here to do sharing merit. I will do like the same usually how I dedicate. All this merit we created today, we're dedicating to becoming what I'm mentioning here, or what I'm going to recite few lines here. Okay, so in all temples and monastery, may study and recitations flourishing and remains. May there always be harmonies among the Sangha, and may the purpose of the Sangha be accomplished. Through the coming of the Buddha into this world, the illuminating sunlight of his teachings, and harmonies among the all followers who uphold the teachings, may there be the auspiciousness of the teaching remaining long into the future. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all the monks, nuns, and all the participants, especially Venerable Rahula, who has been participating with us and giving lectures on Pali tradition with the Dhamma tradition, and also Venerable Kamalatiri and Venerable Geshe, who also has been giving talks, most of the talks on behalf of Dharma part. And I think next time Venerable Rahula might not be available since he is going to be out of state. So anyways, let's see how it's going to be. And so next July, in July 1st, July 1st Monday also, we are going to meet again for similar type of Dhamma talk and Dhamma discussion. So on behalf of the United Sangha Council, I thank you all, and have a good night and good evening for those who are waiting from Sri Lanka. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, everyone.